Hello, good morning. Thank you for coming back to the session on taking care of our life while we are young. I'm reminded of a couple of lines from Wordsworth, the English poet, who, recalling the excitement of the days of the French Revolution, wrote like this: "Blessed was in those days to have been alive, but to be young was very heaven." I've always been captivated by this last expression, but to be young is very heaven. In our last unit, we tried to look at this particular aspect, and I hope you recollect what we have said there. And today, I would like us to think of something related but slightly different. I said in the last unit that youth is a period of great excitement, great possibilities. In this unit, I want to think with you on the fact that youth is also a period of great vulnerability. We could get into serious trouble, we could do serious harm to our souls, unknowingly, without wanting to do so, if we are not careful. As a rule, whatever is potent, whatever is good, whatever is beautiful, is also capable of tragic decay. Small resources bring small problems, but mighty resources bring mighty problems. Since the physical, emotional, intellectual resources available to us in youth are substantial and exciting, we also have to be careful to be alert custodians of our youth and its possibilities. Now, what makes our youth so vulnerable is the fact that during this period of time, first of all, we are greatly excited, which is a good thing. We want to go in, try out, and find what it is like for ourselves firsthand, rather than go by anybody's impression, which is also good. We, at the same time, even as we say that I want to understand life firsthand, are most of the time, while we are young, influenced by others. In fact, an English author by the name Oscar Wilde said that, and this is not only true of youth, but it's also true of others. He says, we are other people, meaning we are not leading our own life. Our ideas are borrowed from others. Our passions and preferences are borrowed from others. Our likes and dislikes, our dreams, all the things that we talk so strongly about are in truth not really our own. It is not something that we have actually experienced firsthand and adopted. We simply have borrowed it. And this is what I mean by being impressionable. It's a very loaded word. I'm sure you know this. Being impressionable has two aspects. One is that you are open to what the world around has to offer you, which is a good thing, as I said. But what is not so good about being impressionable is being thus open, but without the strength of discernment. Now, discernment is a kind of filter. It decides what should come into you and what should not. It decides what is good for you and enables you to accept it. And it also decides what's harmful for you and encourages you to reject it. Now, without this kind, it's like a door to our house. We have a door. We open the door to desirable visitors. We shut the door, as we must, against dangerous elements. For example, if a rabid dog is coming, and there is no point in keeping your door open. So likewise, it's important for us as young people in the process of taking care of our youth to cultivate discernment. It's a very important word. It's a very useful word. It's a very accurate word. There's no other word that can substitute this word as far as this context is concerned. By the way, I must tell you as an aside that in order to think clearly, you must develop the habit and the discipline of using words precisely, because words determine the quality of your thoughts and vice versa. So, in the period of our youthfulness, it's important for us to develop discernment. Now, the question is this: how do we exercise our discernment? How do you know whether this is right or that is right? For example, let me be precise. How do we decide whether drinking alcohol is good for me or not good for me? How do we decide whether smoking is good for me or not good for me? How do we decide whether getting addicted to the net, for example, or certain sites on the net is good for me or bad for me? I mean, there is an old saying that there is nothing inherently good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Now, I believe that that's a dilution of a principle. Certain things are inherently bad. Poison is inherently bad. But there are certain intermediary levels when the danger of something is hidden. In the case of poison, it is immediate, it is manifest. In the case of fire, it is immediate and manifest. You touch fire and immediately your finger burns, and you pull away your finger because you know that it's not good for you. But there are certain things in life where consequences are delayed. For example, you don't develop lung cancer the moment you take a pull on the cigarette. You don't. But if you smoke cigarette for 15 to 20 years, you will develop lung cancer. You don't develop liver cirrhosis the moment you drink a peg of scotch or whatever. But if you drink and drink continuously, over a period of time, you will develop liver cirrhosis. So, from experience, long-term experience, you know that certain things are good and certain things are bad. Now, again, even long-term experience is not enough. This long-term experience must be conjoined with or seen together with an important goal in life. So what is the most important thing for young people, in my opinion, my experience over a long period of time, as I told you, is to be clear about where I am headed. Where do I want to reach? What is the goal of my life? If you don't have this clear understanding, you will only drift from day to day. Each day comes and goes, the next day comes and goes, and you do not know what it is all about. And you say, oh, well, what is life after all? It is nothing but a drift of routine events that do not add up to anything. No, life is not like that. Life is a great excitement. That's my own story, my own experience. It's a great adventure. But it became an adventure because somehow it became possible for me to look at a distant goal, a very exciting goal, and to live daily as someone who pursues that goal. And with reference to that glorious distant goal, it was possible for me to decide, for example, that I should not drink, or that I should not smoke, or for that matter, even that I should not waste my intellectual energies in pointless talkativeness. Many people don't realize how much energies are wasted through mere meaningless babbling, prattling. The technical word for this is talkativeness. That is saying a lot of things amounting to nothing. It's a mindless waste of our intellectual and even physical energies. So all these things became very clear to me only because I was like a pilgrim moving in a well-defined direction, and with reference to that direction, certain things were acceptable, certain things were not acceptable. What we accept and what we reject together define what kind of quality of life we lead, both as young people and later on as adults and elderly people. So, one very crucial, shaping, important aspect of taking care of our youth is to develop a sense of purpose in life. There is nothing in nature that exists without a purpose. This blade of grass, this leaf, this tiny leaf, this tree standing there, the big tree over there, the rain, the sun, the moon, the stars, the creatures, the birds, everything has a purpose. We may not see the purpose immediately, but there is a purpose. How can it be that human beings, who are the greatest of all creation, do not have and need not have a purpose. So therefore, my very first request to young people who are interested in developing their personality in a wonderful manner, and if you do that, this will be the most fantastic achievement of a lifetime, and you will be able to respect yourself in addition to being loved, cherished and respected by others. To develop a sense of purpose, and also to shape, plan and use each day as a step taken in that direction. Let me illustrate and I'll stop. You go to your classes every day. With what understanding, with what sense of purpose do you enter your classroom? There are many young people who enter a classroom because it is compulsory. They do so most grudgingly, unhappily. They don't look excited. That need not be the case with you. You can enter your classroom with great excitement if you know that what's happening in the classroom will help you to take that small little step towards reaching your destination. Now, if you have that attitude, even the small pedestrian things that happen in the classroom will make a lot of sense. You will never be bored in the classroom, and you will never unnecessarily criticize your teachers. So very often, when we blame others for not doing this or not doing that, when we blame others for not being inspiring enough, the fact of the matter is that we are not purposive enough. And the moment we acquire a clear sense of purpose in life, everything in life becomes very colorful, full of aliveness, very exciting, meaningful, and our day-to-day life gets transformed. That is when life becomes a wonderful, meaningful, glorious experience day to day, every day of our life. And this is possible more when we are young than when we are old. Tiny children, infants cannot really experience this in a very conscious manner. Elderly people may be conscious, but their physical structures don't respond to it as readily as our young bodies do. Therefore, this is a time that you can actually sense, imbibe and celebrate the goodness, the greatness and the aliveness of life. And that's a mark of a person who is taking good care of his youthfulness. See you next time.